Hey everybody, we are Robert, Martin, and Francis, and this is Snakes and Otters, pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready, we're about to live in your head rent-free. Hey, welcome back everybody to Snakes and Otters. This is Robert.
I'm Martin.
I'm Francis.
All right, and today we are going to be talking about our favorite aphorisms. This is our Code of Honor episode, and this is going to be a really good one today. Of course, I think they're all really good. But before we get started, just a quick reminder for everybody. New episodes are going to drop every Friday at noon Eastern. And to interact with us, you can find us on Twitter at Snakes and Otters, or you can always go old school and send us an email at snakesandotterspodcast@gmail.com. And how old are we that now old school is email rather than snail mail?
That's correct. Or not old, you might say. That's right.
Yeah, something like that.
So this is awesome. This is going to be episode 29, the second
of our Code of Honor.
Second of our Code of Honor episodes. So it's my turn to sit in the captain's chair this time. And, probably this show is probably going to be one of the more serious shows we do. This type of episode, Code of Honor, because this is serious stuff. This is truly going to relate to the eternal questions that we talk about.
Exploring the nature of human existence.
Yes, very much so.
Through the words of
wise people,
screenwriters, journalists, who knows? It could go anywhere.
So, since I'm captaining, I'm going to start with this one. And one of the quotes, I had a couple different ones I could choose from, but the one I'm going to go with is one that I've trotted out on several episodes because it's that important to me. It was truly a thinking altering, not quite life altering, but it altered the way I think about things after my conversion and entering into the Catholic Church. Came across this phrase in a papal document. And it was talking about respect for the inherent dignity of the human person. It might have also been the Catechism, I can't remember, but because it's in a lot of places. But respect for the inherent dignity of the human person. It's a concept that is so important because it is at the heart of how we interact with one another.
Oh, yeah.
It's at the heart of relationships.
Yeah.
And when we don't have that respect is when those relationships break down.
Yeah.
We've talked about, I think it was the Wilhelm episode many, many weeks ago now, where, we didn't, they were vilifying and making the enemy be evil.
Right.
And you don't make peace with the devil.
Right.
And you don't, as I said, you don't want to admit that you are the devil.
That's right. Yeah. And
so that is a total breakdown for that respect for the inherent dignity. And why do we have that respect for the inherent dignity? Why is there an inherent dignity? At least for me is important because it relates back to my faith. If we are created in the image and likeness of God himself, that is worthy of respect.
Right.
Because no other creature can say that. And that's important. We have reason, we have will. We can think and we can choose. And how we think and how we choose is what differentiates us from one another. What differentiates us, our actions from good and evil.
It's amazing that you say that too, because what you're talking about, the opposite of which leads to objectification.
Exactly.
When we don't have that. And ask anybody who's ever been objectified. That's one of the greatest of all sins, I think.
It's dehumanizing.
That's exactly it. And almost so much of what we do is that attacks outward, the worst parts of ourselves. Always, these ad hominem attacks. That's what that means, is, you're dehumanizing somebody and making them less than a person. If we remember what you said, and that's a core belief from us, we are on the way to being a virtuous society.
Yes.
That is because ultimately it's everybody wins.
And this phrase, even though the framers and the writers of our early documents of the Declaration and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, they wouldn't have used this language, but this is at the core of all men are created equal.
Exactly that.
It's not that we are created equal in abilities, but we are created equal in dignity.
Right.
We are all worthy of respect just because we are people.
Yeah. This does not exclude diversity. In fact, it actually brings it forth.
Yeah. Now we can abuse that inherent dignity.
Absolutely.
To the point where it's awfully hard to respect it. I will grant you that. We all know of people, either in history or in current political and social situations, international, doesn't have to be anybody. I'm not speaking of any particular person or party. I mean overall. It's everywhere that you can pick a place where somebody has either devalued themselves through their actions or been devalued by the actions of others.
So, let me pick up the banner of something you said, and I'll go into mine, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Give me just one moment to take a bite of a Little Debbie caramel apple snack cake.
Oh, I love those.
Yes, you would.
It might be. We used to be huge fans of the Little Debbie PB&J cakes.
Yes, but you can't get those
anymore. Can't get them anymore. This is a worthy replacement.
That's correct. Yes, I hope it's
so
not a
good.
seasonal thing, but an all-the-time thing, because it is very good.
Oh my gosh, it was great.
No, they're going to be seasonal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost
because
guaranteed.
it's the fall right now, and we've
But
only
you put
just-
caramel on anything, it makes it better.
Yeah, because it's caramel.
It's like
apple.
bacon.
And
Yeah,
then the
that's
other
right.
box
I'm
we
so-
have is pumpkin spice rolls.
Yeah, you can tell we're recording this in the fall.
Yeah, and I will admit,
So, yes,
I
we
did say to Marty, "What are you, a white girl or something?" That's all the memes about white girls and their pumpkin
They're
spice
pumpkin
flavored
spice.
spice.
We fell into the pumpkin spice trap, but darn, those things were good.
They were. I was really impressed. So
So
you were saying,
yeah. Well, now I have to wash down Little Debbie with a sip of bourbon.
yes. What are we drinking today? We are
Well,
drinking
I
We've got so many on the
Larson.
table.
Larceny. Yes,
Larceny. This is a really nice.
picked this up on our trip to St. Meinrad, didn't we?
Yes, we did, and
It's a new brand.
is a Bardstown,
Heaven Hill Distillers
yeah,
is the one
Nelson
that puts
County.
it out. Yeah.
Old Fitzgerald Distilleries, and I love stuff from Nelson County.
Well,
And it has a tiny bit of a sharper flavor,
Yeah.
a little bit bolder flavor, but none of the bad.
No, it's very smooth afterwards.
Yeah, it's I think they're called esters. It's the chemical in the bourbon that can make you cough.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's pulled out, you get a good smooth finish. And I like the Larceny with a good smooth finish.
It's interesting how different bourbons have different effects. This one, that effect is mostly in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Angel's Envy
Yeah.
is in the esophagus and the stomach.
Yeah.
It's
It's a slower burn, for lack of a heat, warmth.
that warmth.
Yeah, we're learning all about bourbon the more we do this.
Yes.
Because we keep
'Cause we
branching out.
keep trying.
We'll
different
eventually
ones.
do a bourbon episode.
Yes, we don't know when that will be, but there will be a bourbon
That's
episode
correct.
in our
Yeah,
future.
we're doing our research now.
Yes,
The research involves taste testing.
That's correct.
That's right.
Lots of it.
So I'm going to take your banner that you put down there about the choosing your own destiny.
good segue.
Yeah,
Yes.
very good.
That's a good setup. I didn't even intend to do it.
That's right. Nice one, Centurion.
So, one of my favorite works of literature is Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. It's great literature. It's anytime you can see it performed, do so. It's tremendous character study. But the line is Cassius to Brutus early in the play. Men at some times are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. Now, Cassius is, of course, goading Brutus into murder.
Mm-hmm.
But like most things, when I read them and I can take someone's intent and turn it just a tiny bit, but for me that means my destiny, my fate is not set. I am the master of that destiny through my choices, not other people's. I get a vibe in the world today that a lot of people feel like their lives are controlled by external forces. You know, that people, from whether it's astrology or the Illuminati or whatever it is that people latch onto, that seems to be just this thing that's out there on a pretty regular basis now. It's a cosmic conspiracy to keep me down. And that's the way I beat those feelings. No, my life is my own.
Yeah.
My destiny is my own. And that's one of those words, one of those quotes that brings me to that point.
It's one of the most famous quotes from that play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been with us for
That
so long.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Wait, no way. Sorry.
Yes.
It's a fantastic reminder to us that we are not meant to be spectators in our own life. And it's
Right.
We've talked a lot about the
Yeah.
fact that we've talked about ingratitude and the lack thereof, and thankfulness, and the entitlement that kind of is the opposite side of that. This kind of talks to that, because if you remove yourself from responsibility, if you remove yourself from power, you're removing yourself from responsibility.
Yes.
For what happens to
Yes.
you.
If you assert that your life is not your own,
Mm-hmm.
that you are controlled by the Illuminati or the Trilateral Commission or whatever it is, then you're absolutely right. You forfeited responsibility as well.
Well,
And you've got a false idea of freedom.
Yes.
You think freedom means being free from something. Freedom ultimately is the ability to do something.
yes. There's a difference between freedom and license.
That's right.
Yeah.
License is being freed from the responsibility of doing things.
Right.
Or being allowed to do whatever you want.
Right.
Well, I'm going to
Whereas-
staple 8 or 9 things into my face and dye my hair pink, but I can't get a job.
Right.
And we wonder why.
And yeah, I'm being discriminated against.
So
no.
it's like, well, how about you make a connection here?
right.
Take all the metal stuff out of your face, and I think you'll be able
You know,
fine.
what you were talking about, when you give over to the idea that there's something else controlling your life, and this goes both ways. It can be both positive and negative. You know, in a prior episode, I talked about the law of attraction and how I thought that was total crap.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe the universe is just waiting to hand me good stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the opposite side of the same coin.
Yeah.
That all I have to do is wait for it if I believe in it enough. And what that does is it takes the responsibility of doing your part. There's a great story. Everybody's heard it, but it's about the guy. He's in the middle of a flood, and he calls out to God, "God, please save me." He's on top of his roof, and he wants God to save him. A guy comes by in a boat and says, "Hey, come on, get in the boat. I'll save you." He says, "No, I've prayed to God. He's going to save me. I have faith." Another guy comes along in a bigger boat. He says, "Come on, I can save you." No. And he goes on. The water's rising, and he's standing in the water. It's getting up to the point where he's going to die. Helicopter comes along and says, throws down a rope and says, "Here, take the rope. We'll save you." He says, "No, God will save me." He dies and then when he gets to heaven, he says, "God, why didn't you save me?" He says, "What? I sent you a rowboat. I sent you a bigger boat. I sent you a helicopter. You said no every time."
That's right.
Sometimes you have to take action when you want something to happen.
Yeah. It's almost like a license for sloth.
Yes, when you give over this idea that you are not in control of anything, because to be fair, there are a lot of things we are not in control of that affect us, but we are always in control of how we choose to respond to
Yes.
it.
Well, that's
always
correct.
in control.
That's right.
In control. The outcome of anything is event plus response.
That's right.
Equals outcome.
Right. We may not get the
And you're
outcome we always
always-
want,
yeah, you're
but
in-
we always choose the response.
Yes, you're in control of your response.
Yeah. And if we have given over this idea to where we have no control over anything, we're not living anymore.
No.
Living is, that is change.
You're
It's growth.
existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's no way to live.
Well, even more than that, you are slowly disintegrating. You're coming apart from inside, because that which makes you human is the ability to work with others and to be out in that relationship we've talked about, in that communication, that conversation. By doing what you're saying here, by giving it over that, you are giving yourself permission to withdraw from all society.
Yep.
Because why would you be involved with something that's trying to destroy you?
Yep.
It's a method for isolation and for ultimately shrinking away into dust. It's a nice little...
It's an excuse not to do anything.
Exactly,
either,
that's right. And there's that affluence again. I think our society, because of its affluence and our, I don't want to say obsession with entertainment, but you could say that,
Yeah.
it recognizes that we really shouldn't have to do anything. That is somehow seen as a good. Ultimately, it is self-defeating.
Yeah,
because, as I said, freedom is not the freedom to not have to do. It's the freedom to be able to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a right. that does not have an inherent responsibility that comes with
That's correct.
Yes.
Even though there are some
Life's
that would...
annoying backpack.
Yeah.
Responsibility.
Oh, wow. Oh, that is awesome.
Well, there are a lot of people that try to deny that. You're
Oh, my
exactly
gosh.
right.
That's a PJ.
Hang on, I gotta write
That's a
that
PJ.
down.
Yeah, life's backpack.
Yeah, it's responsibility. That's right, and it goes with you.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
But it-
You might try to say it's not there, but
Yeah.
the emperor's got clothes on. We know that
Yeah.
it's there.
And this ties again back a couple of weeks ago when we talked about thankfulness. We talked about how grateful I was about this podcast, but it's the same thing. We made it happen. We chose our destiny of we're going to have this in our lives,
Okay.
and there's nothing keeping us from doing this. There was no cosmic conspiracy preventing us from doing this.
Well, yeah.
Take action.
Our fault, dear Brutus, was not in our stars, but in ourselves.
So
And
I've got a
check-
corollary. Because
Yes, I love corollaries.
So one of the statements I came with, this is my own statement. This is not something I've cobbled from somebody else. Is that we always live out our own values. We just choose which ones are the most important at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very much, yeah.
And so sometimes that's okay because we juggle those values. We value family, but sometimes we work longer to take care of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And we value our friendship, but sometimes we choose other things at the moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to. We have
And
obligations.
you grow in your values too. You have to discover.
Yes.
There's a path of discovery. When you're younger, fitting in is so important. You
Yes.
want to be like everybody else.
Yep.
I want to be normal. I want to be like everybody else. Then you start to realize as you get a little older, it's like, you know what? There's value in owning yourself, value in being yourself. And we talked about it again with the thankfulness, and I appreciated how my sons Ivar and Björn were unique and special, and they wanted to be their own persons. And I've learned from that, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to fit in anymore. I want to be a snakes and otter. I want to be myself.
Well, Shakespeare said it so well in Hamlet. This above all, to thine own self be true.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Francis, we haven't hit yours yet, though.
Oh, well, yeah, it's very similar in many respects to what we've been talking about here. I kind of like it when we all kind of somewhat, can transition from one to the other.
Different flavors.
Different
of the same
flavors
idea.
of similar ideas, because we've talked a little bit about freedom. Because ultimately, you absent yourself from freedom if you think there's some giant conspiracy that your life is not your own, and you do not see the dignity inherent in the human person, because one of those things necessary for being able to treat those around you with dignity, there's certain things you have to give them and receive from them in order to do that. Dignity is not something we carry on our tongues. We have to be able to live it out. And there are certain things that go with that. One of those things is freedom. We've danced around that a lot here. Freedom is absolutely essential to treat others with dignity and to be treated with dignity. You can't do that. It's a sin against dignity if you were to deny that. And we've been trying to do that to other people as a species since the very beginning. Mm-hmm. It's constant.
Yeah.
And it's one of my issues that I think a lot is it's freedom to do the right thing. It's not freedom to do as you wish. We've talked a little bit about that.
Right. That's license.
That's exactly, as we've said. And my quote with this, it comes from Joe Straczynski, the screenwriter and showrunner for Babylon 5, possibly one of the greatest science fiction sagas of all time. Straczynski wrote...
He's a tremendous storyteller.
Absolutely. He wrote most of the episodes. The whole concept was his. He's one of my heroes because of so much. In many respects, his work on that series in the early 90s was so formative. TV didn't think you could or should do long-form storytelling in a serialized fashion.
Yes.
He made it not only fashionable, but necessary.
He made it possible for us to be able to binge watch stuff.
That's correct. Binge watching comes back to Babylon 5 because before people didn't, nothing was connected. They didn't want it to be.
Yeah,
And
most television programs are what you'd call bottle episodes.
That's it,
Everything
yes.
has to be status quo ante.
That's right. The
at the
reset
end
button
of-
has to be hit at the end. And Straczynski says, no, that's kind of Mickey Mouse. That's kind of baby stuff. People want better than that. They deserve better than that. And I can give them better than that. And make it work, and he did.
And it's it's a reflection of reality. It's does storytelling really reflect life? art reflect life. And because life changes.
Yeah. And it takes visionaries like Straczynski, I think, to remind us that we can be better. And one of the things, and throughout that series, he constantly did that with the characters. There's lots of conflict. There's lots of hatreds that back and forth, and not everything is what it seems. He says that many times throughout the series.
Before you go any farther,
yes,
you haven't given us the quote.
Exactly. I'm building to it.
Okay,
that's right.
Just wanted to make sure because looked like we were going down a rabbit hole there for a minute.
This is very deliberate because I want to lay the groundwork here because the character that is speaking. This is from the second season.
He's building like a game show host here. We're about to find out what's behind curtain number 3.
That's exactly right. And basically this comes
curtain, Money Hall.
All right. This comes from the second season. The episode is The Long Twilight Struggle. It was written by Joe Straczynski, and basically it's the end of a war. It is a war that's pretty much, it's built up for the last few episodes, but it's kind of, the tensions have been there since the beginning, and it's a redo. It's World War II after World War I. The Centauri and the Narns, the Centauri enslaved the Narns 100 years ago. They left, and now the Narns have been aggressive to the Centauri. Things build to a head. They go to war, and the Centauri absolutely destroys the Narn civilization, pretty much. They bomb them from orbit. They pretty much bomb them to the Stone Age, very literally.
They take off and nuke the entire site from orbit.
That's right.
It's the only way to be sure.
Only way to be sure. That's right. It's pretty much that. They use mass drivers and they hurl stuff down. And the station Babylon 5, one of the characters there that is Jakar. He has been the ambassador for the Narn people all this time, and he's a revolutionary. He's somebody that has grown up under occupation, has pushed back all this time, and now he's been pushed back from that by a bigger bully, and his people have been destroyed and enslaved yet again. And there's a very tense moment at a council meeting. It's kind of like the United Nations, where all these worlds come together, and basically they say, Citizen Jakar, who's been stripped of all his rank, must be remanded to us, the Centauri, for trial. And John Sheridan, captain, basically says, no, we're not going to do that. He's asked for sanctuary here. He's going to get it. I can do that. It's going to happen. And he says, well, okay, that's fine. I guess if you're going to do that. But I want him out of here. I want him removed now. And they try and push back, but the Centauri ambassador wins. And as Jakar is leaving, he turns and he says these words to the audience, but to the Centauri and to everybody present. And it's one of those moments that absolutely chills your bones because it is so perfect. His people have just been enslaved, and he has no power whatsoever. But he has the last word, and he uses it. And he says, no dictator, no invader can hold an imprisoned population by force of arms forever. There is no greater power in the universe than the need for freedom. Against that power, governments, tyrants, and armies cannot stand. Though it takes 1,000 years, we will be free. And every time I say those words and hear those words, I get that chill up my spine because it is so critical. Because dignity of humanity, even though in this context it's bigger than that, dignity of sentient life is meaningless without freedom. And that's why I love that so much.
It's really good screenwriting.
Absolutely. And that's just one moment. It's granted it's one of the best moments, but that's just one moment of that entire series. That reminds us, because good storytelling, as we know, reminds us of the human condition.
Yep.
And that's what this does so clearly. Because we have been trying to enslave each other in one way or another. Rarely is it formal, but it's always happening.
Yeah, slavery, what makes that quote tie in so well to my quote, is that slavery is the legalized, institutionalized objectification.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's right.
And therefore, and as we said before, you cannot respect somebody's dignity if they are your property.
That's right.
Yep.
Actually, we didn't say it that way, but that's
exactly
what it boils
it.
down
That's
to.
right. And that's what Jakar was talking about, is that we will be free. In other words, we will be human. We will have our dignity back.
Man, that's good stuff. And again, these code words, this code of honor, words to live by. They're coming from every source.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've done 2 pop cultures. You guys have, you've gone Shakespeare, you've gone papal documents. Come on, we're pulling from everywhere.
Well, just to show you that truth is truth, no matter where you get the particular expression of it.
That's
from.
right. If you can, saying it well matters, and there's lots of folks that do that.
Amazing, amazing stuff.
So, not bad. Point is, gotta be free.
That's right.
I want to be free. What's the song? Yeah. Well, if I come up with a song, I'm not going to sing it because I don't want to lose our listeners.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to have the freedom to be authentically you. Mm-hmm. You also have to have to be able to you should use your freedom to allow others that same freedom.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And sack up and do something.
Yeah.
That's right.
Your destiny is not controlled by others.
Right.
You know what that is? That's respecting your own inherent dignity.
Yes.
Well, that's right.
That
yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's exactly your call.
So we've talked about that. We've talked about the dignity of work and things that all that comes right together. And that's Again, it's Shakespeare putting words in the mouth of a murderer, an assassin, to goad a conspiracy, bring others into it.
Right.
But it's
those that he knew to be moral.
Yeah.
Therefore, he had to be very effective.
Yeah.
He had to use that morality against him.
But you leave out one part you use it in the quote, but you leave out one part as the essential piece. Because he's talking about being underlings.
Yes.
Because he's using that as, well, we want to be in charge. That part is inconsequential.
Yes.
That's you could leave that out, and the quote is just as important and effective.
Yes, we're not underlings. We have our own power to form our own destiny.
Right. We get to choose our own response.
Yes, with yours is that will never be denied.
That's right.
Though it take 1,000 years,
it must never be denied.
It will never be denied.
The
hardest thing to kill is an idea.
That's right. Well, ultimately, it's it's kind of like gravity. You can't, you can bemoan it, but you can't stop it.
But it still sucks.
That's right.
That's why I don't think we talked about this in any of the episodes. We've talked about it in some of the show prep, but it's why in revolutions, especially certain kinds, the intellectuals are always the first ones to be killed, because that's the only way to kill an idea. Those are you kill the thinkers.
Ones who got them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some ideas, however, are universal.
Yes, they are.
Freedom.
Because somebody will always come up with what is
right.
true again and again.
That's right. You cannot stop truth. And freedom is one of those. Dignity is one of those. Responsibility is one of those.
Yes.
All these things are essential to the human person.
Absolutely.
They cannot be removed from us.
Woo-hoo.
Except maybe by our own actions.
Yeah. Well, in a way, that's very true. We can give up our dignity. Technically, it can never be taken from us because it's inherent to us.
Right.
It's part of our nature. What gets taken away from us is the recognition of that inherent dignity. That's why that's the whole quote, is recognizing the inherent dignity. It's like your soul. I always am amused by the stories about somebody selling their soul to the devil. You can't sell what you don't own. From our perspective, it's not. We don't. It belongs to God. Dignity is kind of the same way. It's not something that can be taken or given. It's always there.
Right. It can be denied.
It can be denied.
It can be ignored.
You can choose to surrender it and not act upon it.
Right.
Right.
Which is basically surrendering to the outside forces that you're talking about. Yeah.
So,
which by doing so, you then give up your freedom.
Yeah. That's exactly. I knew we would knit all this together into a really cool tapestry if we just roll with it long enough.
Yes. Listeners, let me tell you something. We were kind of winging it.
Well, we wing it a lot, but we really were winging it on this one.
We're good at winging it.
We are.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Again, it's a conversation. It's a pointless discussion of eternal questions.
It's maybe not even a pointless discussion so much as a pointless exploration. Because really,
I like it.
That may be even a better way to phrase our tagline.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was a fantastic show, guys. I think that's. I don't know that we could do anything else but beat that dead horse, pummel that expired equine, by going over it anymore.
Yeah, we gave it really good going through.
We did.
Really meaningful. So thanks for being with us here every week at Snakes and Otters. New episodes every Friday. Be sure to spread the word on your own social media accounts and follow us and retweet us. Find us on Twitter at Snakes and Otters.
And when you share our messages and our podcasts on your social media, let them know that they can find us on Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Just search Snakes and Otters to listen.
And you can always send us an email at snakesandotterspodcast@gmail.com.
I'm Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis. Thanks for joining us.
This has been Snakes and Otters. Thanks for letting us into your head. We plan to live there rent-free for a long, long time.